So welcome back to another VR Legends, and today we're going to try and pull some performance out of my 3 club cars. Here's my Carrera club cars, and we've got my 2 NSRs that I race at Outlaw slots. Now, these go okay, but I need a bit of extra punch. So we're going to crack open my LeBench V2. We've got a jug of water. We're going to see if we can get some more RPM out of these babies. Let's go. So before we take our Carrera car for its first dyno run, I have linked up my LeBench remote Bluetooth app to the LeBench V2. This will give us all our readouts. And if you are going to be testing a Carrera digital, you will have to bypass the digital chip for it to work on this device. It's simply by removing the black and red from the chip, which normally runs into the guide lead, same color, same thing. And I'm running directly from the guide or the braids straight to the purple and grey on the motor, as you can see here, bypassing the chip completely. So now this will register. So first up, let's do a power run on the Carrera, and then we'll move on to these 2 puppies, and then we'll drop it in some water for a bit and then come back and see have we made any gains. So first up is the Carrera RSR in the Golf livery. Let's give it a quick speed run or an RPM run to see what the stock motor is doing. We'll go half speed first, get the motor going, then let's give it the full berries, 100%. So it looks like we're maxing out at around about 18,920 RPM. So the goal after this is to be getting higher RPM, which means hopefully we're going faster. So let's slow this down first. Let's go half speed, let it slow down a little bit. I don't recommend going straight to brake. You don't want to stop the motor completely straight away. Slow it down again, and now we can stop. So 18,900 RPM is the Carrera RSR Golf livery prior to doing a water break-in run. Now let's move on to the Aston, and then we'll move on to the Abarth, and hopefully one of these get some gains. So next up is the Aston Martin. Again, let's give it a run to see what RPM this is pulling out. We'll go half speed first. We'll get her spinning. Now let's go for the full beans. Whew. Now we're looking at 20,900. Can we call it 21,000? Let's call it. Yes, we've just tipped over to 21,000 RPM prior to doing the water break-in run. So let's slow that down. So we're running 21,000 RPM, which is a good score for the motor. Let's just slow it down a little bit more. And now we can stop it. So 21,000 RPM. Will we gain some RPM after doing a water break-in? Let's find out. And last but not least is one of my favorite cars in real life. I love it, the Fiat Abarth. Let's see what this little puppy does. Again, we'll go half speed. Let's get her rolling, and now let's go full speed, and we are running 19,500 RPM prior to a water break-in. So let's slow that down, 19,500 RPM, half speed, let it wind down, 20%, and now let's stop. But before we move on, I want to show you, if we do a run-in, we can choose 2 different options here, which I don't know which one I'm going to choose just yet. So the running selection is either a short run, which is going to be, I think it's 30 minutes of intervals. This allows it to step up, so it gets faster and faster and faster, which I recommend that. I don't think running it full time at high speed is the best way to do it. So this will climb up in intervals. The next one, which I don't think I will do because it's a long run, and let's face it, I don't have all day to run in a motor. If I've got a competition coming, maybe this is the best way to leave it on a bench. You know, you've got days and days until, and again, this is always going to creep up. Now, this will be the best over 6 hours, but of course you can stop it at any interval, but you just won't get the maximum speed. So today's choice, I think I'll go manual, which will be me just putting it in the water. I'll give it maybe 50% for a bit, and then 100%. I'll go for about 10 minutes, normally should go longer, and then we'll come back and check if any of these cars have had any gains. So we've got the Carrera motor out of the car, and the good thing about the LeBench, you can actually run your negative and positive with these, do we call them alligator clips, on the motor whilst it's off the car. And there's an actual little motor button here as well, which will put the motor through its run. So the good thing is we don't need the car on the dyno because we're going into the water. Now it does sound daunting, but you literally, I used to do this with the RC cars, and a lot of people who break their motors in do this. But of course, once you're finished, make sure you oil up your motor. So let's put that in. Let's turn on the manual mode. Let's get it going first. So we'll get her spinning. I'm going to leave it for about 5 minutes at this speed, so 56%, and then I'll come back in, say, 5-10 minutes and do 100%. So there we go. Water, motor. I will put it in a bit further, but I just want to show you that first. But I'll be back and see if this actually gives us any more RPM. So next up is the Aston Martin by NSR. Now, as you can see, I've cheated a bit. I've used the braids for the negative and positive. It's still attached to the car, and the car is actually holding it off the bottom of the jar itself, or the container. But I won't show you the Abarth next. That's going to be the same process as this, but you can do it whilst it's on the car. It's a little bit lazy. At least it's holding it up for me. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to probably run it for about 5 minutes at 50%, and then come back and maybe do a couple more minutes at a higher rate. Now, be careful with some of the more high powered motors. You might actually shut this down. So I have done a 100% run on it, and it kept tripping the power on the device itself. So you don't have to go full ball. So I'll come back in 5 minutes, take it off. Then we'll do the NSR Abarth, which we won't do on camera because it's the same thing. And then we'll do some power runs and see if we've gained any RPM. So I've done my basic water running. As you can see, the water is disgusting. Before you move on, make sure you dry the motor out really well. If you've got an air pressured gun style, blow the water out. If you've got any contact spray, there's lots of oils out there you can get to re-oil the motor. Do some search up and see what works best for you, but try not to run it dry because the motor won't last very long. So I've done it with all 3 cars now. What was the score on this before? 19,200. So we've got the car on the bench. Let's start warming her up. And as you can see, we are now 19,530. So we've gained about 330 RPM. Now let me slow that down so you can hear me. I would probably go back in there and do another 5 minutes. I only did 5 minutes each, nothing too serious. You don't want to overwork the motor, otherwise you will drop it. So we've gained a little bit. Can I get a little bit more? Would 20,000 RPM out of this motor be trouble? I'm not too sure. Do I take the risk? Probably not now. So I'll run that as is for the next Carrera meet at Outlaw Slots. But the next one is the Aston Martin. So next up is the Aston Martin, and this was a bit of a mixed bag. What were we before? 21,000 RPM it was peaking at. We've actually lost a little bit of power. Now this is where intervals, so if I put it on a motor running at intervals, this motor might have liked intervals better, or it didn't want to be touched at all. Of course, these are mass-produced motors. You can get ones that don't want to be tuned up. You can get some that love it. And this one, and let's do a test, didn't seem to want to, and you can see it doesn't sound the greatest now, so it's a risk I took by running it in water. We have lubed it up, but as you can see, we've actually lost some power. So now, let me turn that down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably break this in now with oil itself. I've already done that. I've cleaned it, run it in with oil. Now I might put it on the bench and let it run in with some oil on it, make it do its own little climb and see if I can get that motor back. So I may have done some damage to this one. We'll see if I can win that one back before the meet on the weekend, because this is what I race at Outlaw Slots for the NSR GT class. But now let's move on to this little weapon. And trust me, it's a little surprise. So last but not least is my NSR Abarth. This is my club car from Outlaw Slots. We race pretty much out of the box stock NSR Abarth class. And this is my little weapon. Now before we did a 19,530, let's see what we have achieved by running in the motor. So let's get her warmed up. She already sounds better than the Aston, and this one's going to surprise you. Let's see if we've got any more on that. Take a look at that. 21,200, 21,100, 21,200. So we have gained a hell of a lot. Before it was 19,530. I've oiled it, I've cleaned it. Hopefully the motor hangs on a lot longer. But this is now a little track weapon. So there you go. We got a massive gain out of this one. So overall, we've had a loss, which I'll try and win that one back. We've had a massive gain, and we've had a little gain, only about 300 RPM. This one was the winner. So this is my club car. It is going to be an absolute monster now. Please keep in mind, if you are using the water technique running, you can damage motors. You are putting it under load, and I'm no professional, but I have damaged a lot of motors from RC racing and now slot car racing, and this one might have let go. Make sure you dry them out really well. There's lots of products out there. I sometimes use a contact cleaner, so your circuit board cleaner, and then oil them. There's lots of oils out there for the slot car world. Again, I'm not a professional, so look up which one works best for you. And there's some homemade stuff you can use, which is what I do. But there you go. We've got a little bit of a gain from the NSR. Stay tuned. I'll give you an update on the news on how this puppy went. But that is a massive gain. So there you go. A little motor running thing. Is this the right way to do it? I don't think so. Don't take my word. But as you can see, we've got some gains out of it. And hopefully this one lasts forever. But as always, at That Slot Car Guy on Instagram, YouTube, all those great places. I've got to get out of here. Bye. I've got to go racing. See ya.